Zhendong after a 3-0 victory over Tomokazu Harimoto, producing some of the best points we've seen in this tournament. Spectacular play, but not enough to get a game off of Fan Zhendong, and now it's the Dragon, the Dictator, Ma Long, Captain Long in red, back in 2018. The first time, the first tournament we've seen him in 2018. I'm Adam Vabra, with me Don Parker. Don, Koki NIWA here. Should be exciting.
Oh, he's taking the first point. Ma Long, for me, playing as good as I've ever seen him play, but Koki NIWA has the scalp in his pocket, so to speak. He has beaten him before, so that will give him a little bit of confidence.
A nice recovery here, chasing down that ball off the top of the net to the opposite corner. I think that's one thing that's so important when you're playing Ma Long, is belief. You have to believe it's possible. Chop block sits up way too high. If he was closer to the table, he might have ducked. He did it against pitch. I don't know, I think, you know, he still understands, Koki NIWA clearly understands, despite his superhero status, that he's playing for the team and for the country, and he's fighting to win.
The fact he's beaten him once before might make Ma Long even more determined, I'm not sure. So difficult to read Koki NIWA psychologically, isn't it? He's just a cool customer all the time.
Yeah, he's on a different level.
3-2.
I think that's part of his mystery, his mystique. I mean, I don't think he wants people to know too much about what he's thinking. He's a private guy in general, very shy and very creative, a bit of an artist on the table.
3-all.
What you mentioned about having been beaten before, you know, I think that was also the case. We saw Ding Ning fighting, Zhu Yuling fighting. Both had been beaten by their opponents. So Mima Ito getting the best of Ding Ning once before, and I think Ding Ning thought never again. Ma Long probably has the same fight and drive out here.
Four, 3.
Again, we were talking about the Japanese being very strong when they're young. And Koki NIWA was part of the Japanese under-18 squad when he was 11 years of age. So he's still only young, relatively young, but he's been playing a long time at a high level.
3-5.
For me, he became internationally quite well known around 14, which is interesting because Harimoto's had about 2 years of the celebrity that Koki NIWA got at 14. Actually, much more than that, because Koki NIWA was known by table tennis fans who were true enthusiasts. But if you're watching table tennis at all, even from time to time, it's tough not to know who Harimoto is right now. Marvelous Long, there he is. Ma Long, Horse Dragon, as his name translates.
I think when you look at NIWA's results, he's knocking on the door to being a real top world-class player. Just not quite there. I just had a glance at his performances in 2017, and he's a quarter-finalist. He made the quarter-final of the World Championships, the Men's World Cup, Qatar, Japan, China, Austria, lost in the quarter-final of all those events. Suggests he's in the top 8, but he's not quite breaking into the top 5.
That's a very interesting analysis. I think it's a rare opportunity to look at how far into the tournament a player is. Sometimes the world rankings are the simpler way to go, but that's a very valid point. You know, how do you perform under pressure? If you're playing a lot on the world tour and you're not breaking a certain barrier.
5-7.
Now, a little fun fact for those of you at home. There's the couple. The man, they have the best smiles. The woman holding the sign and her husband with the 2 flags. They could be just friends, really. Look at them, though. How can you not be happy? I was going to say Ma Long's currently world number 7. Koki NIWA currently world number 6. So, yeah, the new world ranking system will get the best players playing more tournaments. I think that's one of the main goals.
5-8.
It'll also inspire players from continents that are a little bit less, you know, top of the world in terms of table tennis outside of Europe and Asia. They'll benefit from winning continental events. You'll see players from North America, South America, Oceania, Africa, climbing in the world rankings.
Great long fast serve down the line from Koki NIWA. High toss. Interesting return. Ma Long looking to push it short, which is very difficult to do off a long fast serve.
8-7.
Ma Long will be disappointed there. He got very quickly round. A wry smile appeared on his face. You don't see that too often.
The exhale there of Koki NIWA. I was going to say Ma Long looked more stressed than Koki NIWA for a moment, but they had pretty similar facial expressions. Koki NIWA engaging the eye contact there, sizing up the opponent once again.
7-9.
NIWA there coming across the table. We've been talking about that technique, returning with the backhand from the forehand side of the table. Three game points.
One saved. As we come into the third towel break, that slow motion highlight of the point before. It's funny, we have to remember that slow motion. Ball moving slowly, Ma Long not catching it, but really actually quite fast. And NIWA's trying to stay close to the table. We've seen it with his spin shots. I think he knows that's where he's going to be far more threatening.
10-8, please play.
2 game points left for Ma Long with the serves. Oh, gets the forehand flip on, but the inside-out forehand goes long. Ma Long in control, dictating once again, back on the scene and in fashion. So 11-8. Captain Long takes game number 1 for Koki NIWA. Creativity can be kindly rewarded out here for him. Same with versatility in his pace, his placement, just keeping the opponent guessing. I think between the two of them, between the two of these players, Koki NIWA is the less predictable player and the more creative player. Ma Long has pulled off some incredibly creative shots, and he's the most complete player. But let's see how Koki NIWA comes back. Don, I'll talk through this with you. The coaches right now, I'm curious to hear your thoughts about what's going to change.
I don't think anything's going to change from Ma Long. I think he made a few errors there. Forehand topspin he missed towards the end of that game. I think he just plays really positive. He's strong on both wings. He plays very good short play. What can you tell somebody? Just keep it going.
So more so on the Koki NIWA side, right?
Yeah, that's more of the challenge. That's more of the challenge. But again, I don't think Koki NIWA did a lot wrong there. He looked to be positive. He started strong.
This is nice soft touch here. Keeps it right at the back of the table. Some discomfort for Ma Long on that opening attack. That's a tough one. That's the danger of coming around the forehand side of the table for the backhand, is you leave a gaping hole on the backhand side, and a quick player. Like Ma Long, there's that textbook backhand, so clean right down the line. Well placed, right into the middle.
I mean, Ma Long was #1 in the world back in 2010, I think. And he's not been far off #1 throughout the last 7 years. He's such a seasoned campaigner. And I'm not sure what his run of victories has been at the World Championships. He's defended his title. He won in Dusseldorf. He won the time before, Olympic champion. Just funny, there was a record.
Yeah, people, there's always the question, who is the greatest of all time? And Zhang Jiko, for a few years, was looking to be a good candidate for that title. Ma Long has turned things around a bit. NIWA with the sky lobs coming down. Oh, the forehand comes into play, but the backhand, not 2 in a row. Koki NIWA not afraid to try. A spectacular point for the crowd. And there the rackets twiddled, the red rubber out for Ma Long. Normally the tacky black rubber on the forehand side. But with those high balls, he doesn't need as much spin. He needs a rubber that's going to spring the ball out. More speed than spin. Beautiful angle from NIWA, playing risky and wide.
Again, going back to the tactics of NIWA, that's what he's going to do, play high-risk table tennis. What have you got to lose when you're up against somebody like Ma Long? Go for your shots. And as you say, that was a great forehand topspin.
Yeah, if you're watching the World Tour year-round, you've probably heard me say this before, but if you take two players and one's the underdog, if they both play their typical game, the underdog will lose. On average, you will lose. So you have to take risks and hope that some of the shots go in. High-risk shots, if you make a higher percentage than usual, pressure could settle in, who knows?
And look at this.
Nice counter right there off the bounce. Koki NIWA's timing quite early. Woo, la la! I mean, we've got the first one big, and Ma Long rips it back. Koki NIWA's already recovered in there. Opening. One more time, short stroke. Arm behind the head, Ma Lin style there for a moment.
But again, NIWA staying close to the table. Of course, when you're close to the table, you topspin, your opponent's got less time to react. Point touched.
Edge of the racket there, a little break for Koki NIWA, but still, you have to imagine it went where he was hoping to, just can throw off the opponent. Very strong start right now for Koki NIWA, but as big as this lead is, 5 points, still not a safe lead against Ma Long. Please come down. Two drop shots. What? Oh, finally! Wow! Who even dares do this with Ma Long? I can't remember the last time I've seen Ma Long have to do one drop shot in a point, let alone three. And Koki NIWA almost hits the ceiling in here. So many balls come down.
The drop shot was quite strange. He lets the ball come to the top of the bounce for his drop shot.
I think he was hoping not to give it away because he knows how low the percentages are when you try to take it right off the bounce. It's necessary. I think he was hoping that Koki NIWA was far enough away that he'd make the next shot from near the ground, but he'd be close to the table, and then Ma Long could smash for a winner. But Koki NIWA kept lobbing it back on, even from close. So second towel break of the game, a 6-point lead for Koki NIWA. It is a best of 5, so it's more likely to produce an upset than a best of 7 match, Don.
Big difference. Easier to win 3 games than 4 games when you're playing against Ma Long, that's for sure. But NIWA, he's completely dominating this second game, and that touched, I think.
Back edge of the table, 7 game points.
It did, and there we see, yeah, 7 game points, and he deserves 7 game points. He's not put a foot wrong.
And softly, confidently, Koki NIWA holds Ma Long to 3 points.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I don't know how many times I've uttered these two phrases together, but who does that? Koki NIWA does that. 11-3 over Ma Long. It doesn't mean the match is determined, but in terms of pressure, this gives Ma Long and Lu Guozheng quite a bit to think about in the corner, Don.
Well, the fact he's beaten him before, and he's just beaten him 11-3, must be preying on Ma Long's mind. He knows the guy's beaten him, and he knows he's just probably, I can't think of Ma Long losing the game 11-3, can you? You probably can.
It doesn't, it was almost like seeing him on the bronze medal podium at the Men's World Cup. It just doesn't, it seems like there must be a glitch in life. Like something, this isn't possible, this doesn't happen. 11-3 to Ma Long, no, I mean, I'm sure it's I'm not sure it's happened. Maybe in Chinese Super League, maybe on an off day.
But I think there, if you, NIWA, 2 things. He stayed close to the table. He didn't get forced away from the table. He gambled. And he went for his shots. Every opportunity he got, he looked to be aggressive.
Just a little fun thing for the fans out there. If you're watching this live right now, you're hearing this, please find me a time that Ma Long has been beaten 11-3. Anytime anyone, please send it to me. I would love to see when that happened, and I would love to know that information. Chop block well handled here. Ma Long with serious pressure, reads the spin well. Not easy to do. That chop block has beaten so many people in this tournament alone.
NIWA there, tactics were good. Service wasn't great, it wasn't quite fast enough. He went for the long serve. Bounced a little bit too high. But he took that high-risk forehand topspin off the bounce. Missed, but the tactics were definitely spot on.
That angle once again, a bit of side spin. Now here's something that, when you talk about advantages and disadvantages of different physiques out here, a shorter player has a shorter stroke in general. And with that lower center of gravity, to come around the inside of the ball is less awkward for the body.
Net.
There's actually a player who's about 5'3", a little shorter than Koki NIWA, who when I lob to, hits heavy side spin at me, and it's so difficult to stay in the rally.
NIWA there, excellent touch at the beginning of the rally. And then he took Ma Long on close to the table. He's not backing away. There you can see him, he's holding his ground.
Snake, oh, it's gonna go wide. He snaked it from under the table, the side spin, and Ma Long wasn't fooled. He adjusted well. I mean, how many times in this match are we gonna see Koki? If there was a snake, did you see him whip the racket up the opposite way right after putting a little side spin? Oh, that's the most expression I've seen from Koki NIWA in quite some time when he's on the field of play.
Let 2-3.
On the bench, we saw some expressions like that from him yesterday as Japan barely snuck through the victory against Korea. Oh, Koki NIWA. The punch, and then going down to below the table with a counter on the short side. Please let me see this again. One backhand opening, squatting backhand, falling out of frame. It's Koki NIWA, full commitment. Gotta love that, like a ninja, just creeping down below the table there on that last ball.
A little bit more spin on the top spin, not quite as much speed. Good tactics from Ma Long.
This high-risk game, though, that we're seeing from Koki NIWA, I mean, his percentages, this is one of the things that makes him world number 6, despite not getting through the quarterfinals so much in 2017. He's beaten some of the most unbeaten players in table tennis. And he's consistently dangerous. I mean, Dima had the best year last year from a record standpoint. There's our favorite couple again in the fans, Ma Long fan club. I like that the Ma Long fan club lets their faces show. I feel like in Chinese fan culture, most of the fans cover their face with the signs. They're very proud about it, very comfortable.
4-5.
Again, Koki NIWA just looking to take that backhand, get in with the backhand topspin. Just have a little look. Hits his finger, I think, and flew off the end. But again, the tactics spot on. Be aggressive, take a few chances. If you block those and just keep the ball on the table, then I'm afraid there's only one winner. Oh my goodness. That forehand topspin down, but again holding his ground. Had he have backed off the table, that shot would have been impossible. Here he goes.
Sort of was a little bit. And look at this. A step and a half behind, the arm behind the head once again. Agility. I was just sitting there with my mouth open. I couldn't believe that came down on the table, Don. Tied up 5 points each. Dictator with the serve.
6-5.
He's fired up, he's cholaying. Whoa.
A sigh of relief. I'm not sure what that was, but one thing's for sure, Ma Long is under pressure here.
So is she. My goodness. Hope things work out her way. It doesn't look like she'd handle it too well if Ma Long loses. How power over the table, just so much pace on that forehand flip. What are you thinking, Don?
I thought that was a great serve there from Marlon. NIWA there lifting what he thought was backspin. No backspin to lift. The ball just pops up a fraction, and that's all Marlon needs. I'm thinking here that NIWA's playing perfect tactics, throwing caution to the wind, and he's pulling off some amazing shots. Just needs to hang on in there. Can't afford to let Marlon get too many points in front. 8-5 now, it's going to be tough. But at the halfway stage, it was 5 points apiece. So a 3-point run now for Marlon. Mental toughness is crucial in this game. Marlon appears to have it in spades at the moment.
5-8.
It's funny, he had one loss to Timo Boll, Japan in 2020. Who do you think will play for China in 2020? Only got 2 for singles. Koki NIWA dodging the ball, a little bit of a sachet move there. Runway model style from Koki NIWA.
Oh, what a forehand down the line. I always find it interesting to watch the Chinese selection process, and they do, some countries play the top players and keep them going, and then all of a sudden there's a gap because the younger players haven't had a chance to come through. China, incredible how they've just kept the machine working, and we get endless players coming through. And I think sometimes they're very brave in not playing players when they're 28, 29, 30. So will Marlon be in the lineup? I'm enjoying your chat at the bar here. What will be China's team?
Yeah, it's...
Fan Shendong's down there. He's on my list now.
Yeah, it's tough to imagine he won't be playing the Olympic Games in the singles event. Oh, man, almost out of reach. This is where Kasumi Ishikawa ended up lying on the table at the Women's World Cup in Sendai. Shot block lob. Racket twiddle, look how much bounce Marlon. Really agile to get back around for that.
Have to be careful there. If he moves the table, of course, you lose the points. And if he'd have kicked a little bit more across the table, he might have had to dive on the table.
These tables look pretty sturdy. I think a dive could do it. Ooh, big point here, stepping into the lead. Yeah, that's a real question for me too, Don. I mean, Marlon, no single man has won the Olympic singles gold medal twice. Had Zhang Jiko won game 1 against Marlon, I wonder what the motivation and the body language on the court would have been for the next few games. But with Zhang Jiko, game 1 was a tight deuce game, and then the next 3, Marlon just tore him to shreds. But Zhang Jiko would have been the first to do it. He would have been a double Grand Slam winner, which would have been the first in history for men. And I think many would have hailed him as the greatest of all time. Oh, look who it is. Speaking of which, Ding Ning has had a tiring tournament here. She can rest a bit now. Nice little spot there in the crowd.
3-4.
But Marlon has the chance to do the same if he can keep up his form. He's got a little over 2 years left to be the best in the world under pressure, and he does have the experience. 2015, he found his confidence.
5-3.
But we can't count out Lin Gaoyuan. He's been getting a lot of opportunities lately as we come into the timeout. Yeah, I'm curious to see who will rise for the Chinese men.
So timeout called. Each player has the opportunity for one timeout during the match. Japanese coach possibly sensing this match drifting away. 2-point lead to Marlon.
Now, just a reminder for context's sake, right now in the overall team matchup, China has 2 victories, and all they need is 1 more. Marlon, 1 game away. He wins this here, it's over. China is the champion. But it was Japan yesterday against Korea, who was up 2-0. And in the 3rd match, the 2nd singles match, the surprise victory came. And then same in the 4th. And in game number 5, it was looking really grim for Japan. 5th match, 5th game, Jin Ueda down 6-10 against Jung Sung-un, a timeout at 10-7. and it never stopped. 16-14, NIWA managed to take the match to get the Japanese men here to the final today. Koki NIWA has to start this revolution, the change out here for the men of Japan. He's already taken one game off of Ma Long. It's going to take two more.
6-3.
Serve comes off the table just a little bit, but not a comfortable opening shot. If Koki NIWA doesn't make it, you have to imagine. Very well placed from Ma Long, and he is a man of precision.
Again, the return just a fraction too high. Didn't quite read the amount of backspin. He thought there was a lot more on the ball. Thought he had to lift it. He did, but there was no backspin to lift. So the ball pops up. And I think there's going to be no recovery here, Adam. The writing is on the wall.
Well, just something fun to remind competitors about how spin, the most spin isn't necessarily important. Ma Long, not a flashy serve. Oh, we were waiting for this to happen. Koki NIWA's played that angle so many times, and Ma Long anticipates. He's learned from the past, waits till the last moment, and covers. A beautiful finish to this point for Ma Long.
The key to the service is not the spin, as you say, Adam, it's deception.
Yes. A lot of factors, but if it's tough for the receiver to read, good third ball opportunity is much more likely for the server. Exhibition points? I don't know. I mean, it's a team event. It seems unlikely. Can't imagine. You know, we've seen comebacks like this in China. Wang Jianjun versus Ma Lin 2003. And there it is, Ma Long, 11-3, the same way Koki NIWA had beaten Ma Long for the second game of this match. The Dictator, the Dragon, Ma Long, currently world rank number 7, looking unstoppable here in London, Don.
We predicted a 3-0 victory, but I have to say the Japanese team put up a great fight. Koki NIWA there, you know, fight 1-1, 5-1, bit of a chance. Harimoto gave it 100% in his game. So, well done Japan, but I just think China just a little bit too good for everybody at this tournament.
Well, it's quite clear who the second best team is right now. Interestingly enough, by world rankings, Germany is the #1 world ranked team with world rank #1 and world rank #3. But between Dima's injury here at the back and Timo taking a little break to get ready for the German national championships, Qatar maybe, Germany, I'll have to look at who's signed up. China's still the strongest team on the planet, regardless of world rankings. Looking very good out here. It was interesting for a bit at the end of last year. There was a shuffle in the equipment, testing out different rackets. When Fan Zhendong played Dima, he was not using his usual racket. Still an incredible match, 15-13 in the 7th. But as you mentioned, Japan deserves so much credit. With young players out here like Tomokazu Harimoto at 14 producing points that I'm pretty sure we'll see in the highlights, the top 10 of this event. But the play has been done, and we are down to the highlights. We will have award presentations in a little bit, and we'll have an interview in just a moment. Colin's been asking some fun questions and leaving a lot of opportunities for the audience to hear the personality. I think we can go back and remember some points. The lobs of Koki NIWA. Remember with Harimoto and Fan Zhendong when they were playing with their hands up for the broken ball, waiting for the umpire to say, okay, let point. Quite hilarious for me, Don.
Tricky situation for the players there because you can't stop the rally until the umpire calls let. The umpire wasn't speaking, so they were playing ping pong for 5 or 6 shots, weren't they?
That's probably the best use of those words I've heard in some time. Well said indeed. You can see setting up down there live on court. The Dictator, the young father, Ma Long, in the clinching spot there. Again, Ma Long taking doubles with Xu Xin, arguably the best doubles player table tennis has ever known, Fan Zhendong. And now we're going to head down to Colin for a fun interview with the Dictator.
Thank you, Adam. Yes, we are down here with the Dictator. We're speaking now with the current world champion and the captain, Ma Long. Ma Long, Japan, I think, played a great game, and that last match, Koki NIWA, made it very, very difficult for you. You were lost one game 11-3. What did you have to change?
日本打得很不错，今天。然后刚才的那场比赛 ，Koki NIWA 是第2局的时候是11-3赢了你。你做了一些什么改变，最终赢得了这场比赛？
我觉得比赛5局3胜，输1局，哪怕2局是很正常的。当然，第2局其实自己在开局的几个无谓失误，包括有几个好球，对手打得好，所以自己并没有去做过多调整，还是更多的把注意力放在后2局吧。因为确实双方阶段性的实力有的时候会差不多，但更主要的还是3、4局自己调整了心态，对手打几个好球也很正常，包括自己可能调整好心态，无谓失误少一些也就好一些。
So I feel like it's pretty normal for a game, like for a match that is 3 out of 5, to maybe lose 1 or 2. And in the second game, Koki NIWA played very well and got some great points. So I lost that game, but I didn't really change too much my tactics, and I was really just trying to kind of play normal and focus on the last 2 games and win those.
Thank you. And 2 questions in one now. How will you celebrate your victory now as a team, and when will you get back into hard training again?
你今天打算怎么庆祝今天的这个世界杯的冠军？
还是先争取能好好睡觉，因为昨天晚上不知道酒店怎么了，有2次火警，所以说起来2次，昨天睡得也不是很好。然后另外希望把胡子刮了，每一次比赛有胡子，感觉自己老了好几岁嘛。
First of all, I'm trying to get some sleep back. So there was 2 fire alarms like last night, so I didn't get too much sleep. So I just want to get some sleep back first of all, and also probably just get rid of the beers. And every big match I didn't really shave them, but it kind of feel weird and make me look older.
Okay, so time for a shave for Ma Long. Ma Long, the dragon horse. Thank you very, very much for coming to London. We've loved having you here. And with your team, you are the Men's Team World Cup champions for 2018. Ladies and gentlemen, Ma Long and China.
So there you have it, some words from Ma Long, the dictator, the dragon. You know, I completely forgot about the fire alarm situation. I mean, as a commentator, I need my sleep, but not quite the same way that the players out here. Several fire alarms last night. And Ma Long, without a shave, still came out here without proper sleep, came out here and was unstoppable. Again, Koki NIWA threw a whole bunch of interesting stuff his way. And while sometimes it worked for Koki NIWA, Ma Long still quite marvelous, as you can see from the young fan in the crowd, Don.
A lot of Chinese support in here, a lot of them with their marvelous Long. And as you said, really enjoying themselves. I mean, obviously you enjoy it when your team does well, but it's been a great atmosphere in here. People enjoying the table tennis, people enjoying supporting their respective teams. England, of course, had a good tournament here, played on 3 days. They made the semi-finals, the men's team. So that was great for the English supporters that were here. But I think we've had a fantastic tournament, and it's been incredibly well staged. The volunteers have been quite magnificent. Nothing has been too much trouble for them. The organisers deserve a big pat on the back. The ITTF are beginning to stage things in a quite magnificent way. And it's really, everybody should be patting each other on the back. I don't know if you agree, Ad.